happened in 2004, 2005, right before I left leadership in the Senate and left the Senate. I spent a lot of time basically saying that the next big pandemic is going to come. It's biology. The viruses are cagey, and they've done it for millions of years, and they're going to keep doing it for a million of years. So they're going to come. And the problem is, as you implied, the lack of sense of urgency after it passes.
I understand why we're not prepared for this. Like, it really hadn't happened in 100 years, right? Like, we had other ones flare up. I get it, and SARS and MERS and this and like shutting the economy down. No, like 1918 was the last time. And I think a reasonable person would have expected and I understand the biosecurity community knew this was coming, but like reasonable people might have said, a lot has changed in medicine in 100 years, and there's no way we are still this exposed.
Sure.
But that we now know we are. So that's new information. Okay. And so it's actually different than like pre-COVID, right? Like we didn't know. I think, again, a reasonable person would have argued, a reasonable person can no longer argue that another pandemic class of these would not shut the country down for a year if it showed up next year. It would. And so what can you do? You can make it faster to manufacture, which there are ways to do that. The nice thing about mRNA vaccines is you could stockpile, not the vaccine, because you don't know what's coming. This was the mistake, right? We have all these stockpiles, anthrax, all this shit, useless. Okay, right? Like stockpiling the actual end vaccine is pointless. What you want to do is stockpile all the raw materials and have flexible manufacturing, like on demand at places like an Aldevron that could flip on and actually make it in 3 months or 6 months, right? Like depending. And so that's, but even, okay, fine. Still, I mean, would we really tolerate, like from a national security perspective, that we could shut the whole country down for 6 months? Like what is our tolerance for this? And so the other tool I think we need, and you're seeing the CDC make moves in this direction, which is great. It's like weather satellites, right? Like we need to monitor for viruses so that when a governor has to make a decision about how to contain the virus, they don't have to close down a whole state. They close down a town or a city or a school or a classroom, right? Because they know exactly where the virus is. And so they're not having to do gross interventions that ruin everyone's life. They're able to make targeted interventions. And the answer to that is awareness of the biology around you, right? Like you're in a room right now, you're breathing viruses. Which ones, right? Like what viruses are potentially flowing through your computer right now, but you have no idea what's in the air.